Closed doors, I'm a fool for your love.
Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you are doing great. Welcome back to my class. I am your teacher, Klenea Siervo. Before we move on to our next lesson, let's have a review of our previous lesson, which is about locating places on the map. So on the map, we'll be able to locate the Philippines. Our last question or our previous question was, where in the world is the Philippines? We'll be able to answer this question using the latitude and the longitude. So these lines are imaginary because you can't see them. Lines of latitude circles to Earth from east to west. Line of longitude circles the Earth from north to south. So these lines are the words geographers use to find the location of a specific place on Earth. On our previous lesson, you will be able to locate places using a coordinate system. But using latitude and longitude is not the only way you can describe the location of a certain area. Another way is by identifying the land masses and bodies of water that are found in that area. In this lesson, you will learn about the land masses and bodies of water that surrounds in the Philippines. But before that, let's have a short activity, which is guess the picture. So we all know that the Philippines is a tropical country located in the northern hemisphere. It is also the second largest archipelago in the world. Just like the other nations of the world, it has many landforms and bodies of water. So in this activity, I'm going to show you a different landforms and bodies of water in the Philippines. And you're going to tell where is this area or what is the name of that specific landmass or bodies of water. Are you ready? Okay, so let's have our first picture. Okay, very good. It's Mount Pulag. Next picture. Okay, we have Sierra Madre mountain range. Next, Taal volcano. Next, very good, Bantahan Falls. Next, yes, Puerto Princesa Underground River. And last picture. Yes, Manila Bay. Okay, so these are some of the geographic features of the Philippines. Philippines is an archipelago. Archipelago are made of all islands and seas, and their formation depends on the condition of each. So on our next activity, you will be learning about the different landforms and bodies of water in the archipelago. So our lesson is about location of the Philippines with respect to land masses and bodies of water. For our lesson objectives for this lesson, first, I will describe the location of the Philippines with respect to the land masses and bodies of water. Second, I will describe the different landforms and bodies of water in the Philippines. And last, I will propose some ways of our scenic spots to be recognized by the foreigners. Okay, for our essential questions, so these are the questions that need to ponder on while we go along our lesson. So hopefully, you will be able to answer this at the end of our lesson for today. First, how does will we live influence the way we live, and how does location determine the growth of a particular place? So those are the questions. Before we move on, let's define some of the terms that you're going to encounter in this lesson. First is archipelago. So the archipelago comes from the Greek words archi, which means chief, and pelagos, which means sea. So the term archipelago is used for two ways. It may describe a group of islands at sea, or the second way is to describe a sea with many scattered islands. Next word, we have topography. The origin of the topography comes from tupo for place and graphia for writing. It is a studying of the land surface. In particular, it lays the underlying foundation of a landscape. Those are the two words that you will encounter in this lesson: archipelago and topography. Now, let's move on to our question for this lesson. How would you describe the Philippines? On our previous activity, I have shown you the different land masses and bodies of water that can be found in the Philippines. Through that, you could tell that Philippines is such a beautiful archipelago. The Philippines is an archipelago and is found in Southeast Asia. It consists of 7,641 islands with three main divisions, namely Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Okay, we have Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. A while ago, I asked you to describe the Philippines. So to describe our country by looking at the map, take a look at this map. You can say that the Philippines is an archipelagic country. It is an archipelagic country surrounded by different bodies of water. It is also found in the Western Pacific Ocean. Let's take a look at the different bodies of water that surrounds the country. On the eastern part of the country, it is bounded by the Philippine Sea. On the south, it is bounded by the Celebes Sea. And on the west, it is bounded by the West Philippine Sea. Now, let's take a look on the neighboring islands of our country. So in this picture, you can notice that our country strategic location in the Pacific makes its part of what? Yes, Pacific Ring of Fire. Okay, it's Pacific Ring of Fire. So the group of countries form a horseshoe shape around the edges of the Pacific Ocean. It is called Pacific Ring of Fire because it is where earthquakes and volcanic activity predominantly core. Here are the some countries that also located in the Pacific Ring of Fire.
Chile, Mexico, United States, Antarctica, Russia, Japan, Philippines, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, Canada, Peru, Taiwan, and Guatemala.
The Philippine archipelago is along the Ring of Fire. So what does it mean to be part of the Ring of Fire? Remember, Ring of Fire, it is where mountains and volcanoes are formed and earthquakes are generated. That is also the reason why our archipelago is volcanic and mountainous. Because of the location and topography of the Philippines, it has a lot of attractive scenic spots. On our next activity, entitled It's More Fun in the Philippines, we are going to have a trivia game. So this will feature the beautiful land masses and bodies of water around the Philippines. Information about the scenic place will be given and you will provide the name of the place. Each question has only one answer, and participants or the viewers are not allowed to use outside help of any kind if possible. Okay, let's start. First question. It is the highest peak in Luzon. It is the third highest mountain in the Philippines. It is famous for its sea of clouds and view of the Milky Way galaxy at dawn. Very good. It's Mount Pulag. Second, it is the highest peak in Visayas. It is one of the active volcanoes in the Philippines and part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. Mount Canlaon. It is the highest mountain in the Philippines archipelago. It is the highest point in the Philippines. Very good! Mount Apo. It is the longest mountain range in the Philippines, running in the north-south direction from the province of Cagayan to the north and Quezon to the south. It is also the backbone of Luzon. Very good! Sierra Madre. It is an active volcano that erupted in 1991. It is the most notorious for its BSEd-6 eruption on June 15, 1991, the second largest terrestrial eruption of the 20th century. Very good, Mount Pinatubo. because of this eruption, this beautiful lake was formed. So even though we are located in the Pacific Ring of Fire and we experience different disasters like volcanic eruption, there's also a good part of it, which is it forms a different beautiful land masses and bodies of water in our archipelago. Okay, moving on to our next trivia question. It is known for its perfect cone. It is the most active volcano in the Philippines, and its activity is regularly monitored by PhilVox. Yes, it's Mount Mayon. It is the longest and largest river in the Philippines. It is also called Rio Grande de Cagayan, the Philippines' mightiest watercourse, the longest and widest river in the country. Yes, Cagayan River. It is declared as UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the new 7 wonders of nature. It has a spectacular limestone mountain landscape, dramatic formations in the cavern, and pristine waters surrounding it. It's Puerto Princesa Underground River. It is the largest lake in the Philippines. It drains to Manila Bay via the Pasig River. The lake is one of the primary sources of freshwater fish in the country. Yes, Laguna de Bay. It is the second highest waterfall in the Philippines. It is sometimes called the Twin Falls, as the flow is separated by a rock at the brink of the waterfall. Yes, it's Maria Cristina Falls. And last, it is the most popular waterfall in Laguna. It is also known as Cavinti Falls. It is one of the most famous waterfalls in the Philippines. Yes, Pansanhan Falls. Okay, that's all. So for more trivia questions about the Philippine archipelago, you can go to this link. It is also about the different land masses and bodies of water. You can try the fun trivia in this website. So, as a Filipino, do you really believe that it's more fun here in the Philippines? After knowing about the different land masses and bodies of water I've shown you, there are only some of the best places in the Philippines. So for me, I really believe that it's more fun here in the Philippines. Our archipelago is very rich in different rich countries wherein you can find a lot of scenic spots, and it is also the reason why foreigners are attracted to our country. So next question, are you proud Pinoy? This is a very good question. Despite the negative things that has been happening in our country, you still need to be proud Pinoy. We need to love our country, and we need to always look at the brighter side of things. Our country is a very beautiful place. So, let's have the summary of our lesson. Archipelago is a sea or stretch of water containing many islands. topography, the arrangement of the natural and artificial physical features of an area. The bodies of water that surrounds the Philippine archipelago are Philippine Sea on the west, Celebes Sea on the south, and West Philippine Sea on the west. Philippines has 7,641 islands with 3 main divisions, namely Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. So why is the archipelago volcanic and mountainous? So due to the location of the Philippines along the Pacific Ring of Fire, where different geological processes are active, the country has varied topography features. That is why it is volcanic and mountainous. So based on its location, do you think Philippines is rich? Yes, our archipelago is also rich in natural resources. Now let's revisit our lesson objectives for this lesson. I hope we will be able to achieve our objectives. I hope you can say the following. I can describe the location of the Philippines with respect to the landmasses and bodies of water. I can describe the different landforms and bodies of water in the Philippines. And lastly, I can propose some ways of our scenic spots to be recognized by the foreigners. So, I'll just see you again next time and talk to you soon.